Leeds City Railway Station is one of the busiest in the UK, located behind the Queen's Hotel in City Square. However, there used to be several railway stations in the centre of Leeds, including this one, the Leeds Central Railway Station, just a few hundred yards along Wellington Street from City Square. It was a huge station, built above street level, with goods yards extending all the way along Wellington Street. But today there is hardly any sign of it, and people would be forgiven for not knowing it existed. Passenger railways arrived in Leeds in 1834 when the Leeds and Selby Railway opened a terminus at Marsh Lane to the east of the city centre. In 1840, the North Midland Railway also opened a terminus at Hunslet Lane to the south, which was then extended to a more central location in 1846, known as Wellington Station, which eventually became part of the existing Leeds City Station. Leeds Central was opened in 1854 by the Manchester and Leeds Railway and the LNWR. The railway station became owned jointly by the LNWR and the North Eastern Railway, but other companies had power to run trains there, including the Great Northern Railway and the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. Central Station existed for over 100 years, until it closed in 1967. A large proportion of the land after demolition became Royal Mail House, which was around from about 1975 until the turn of the century, when it was in turn demolished and new apartments and commercial properties were introduced. This map shows the location of Central Station, along with Wellington Station and New Station. The new station is actually quite old, having been opened in 1869 and allowing through trains to run through the city for the first time. In 1938, Wellington Station and New Station were combined to create Leeds City Station. Leeds City Station was completely rebuilt in 1967. When the Leeds Central Station closed, its services transferred to Leeds City Station, and the last train left from Leeds Central on the 29th of April 1967, bound for Harrogate. The railway platforms of the Central Station extended out of the terminus to the west and crossed over Northern Street in a series of bridges, not dissimilar to those on Neville Street near the Dark Arches. By 1981, when this photograph was taken, much of the bridging had already been removed, but a remaining bridge can be seen. Northern Street has a much more open aspect since the bridges have gone, and also since the removal of the high walls which surrounded the railway approach and goods yards. The corner of Royal Mail House is seen on the right in this photograph, and the remaining bridge and high walls on the left are also visible. For a few years, Airside Retail Park resided on the land to the left, until more recently, when a number of new developments, including Wellington Place, have taken over the space. This aerial photograph shows the developments that have been taking place. Wellington Street runs along the top of the image. The River Aire and Leeds and Liverpool Canal also wind through the area. I can overlay the map of the Central Station to help show its previous location. You can now see the station extending over Northern Street and the railway lines heading out. The trains arrived at the station on large stone viaducts to the west of the station, and some of them still remain and are visible on the photograph to the left. The viaducts which cross over the canal and river are still in place and are one of the few clues that Leeds Central Station existed. There is currently a great deal of development in this part of Leeds, and there is a suggestion that in the future The viaducts will form some sort of elevated green space. The transformation in this part of Leeds is staggering. 40 years ago, this was still an industrial area, although suffering from decline. The high walls that surrounded the goods yard and station approach have now gone, replaced by new buildings of steel and glass. There are many new job opportunities and places for people to live being created along Whitehall Road and particularly within the Wellington Place development. One of the few remaining clues to the existence of Central Station is the former GNR Hotel, which is still here today. It is an impressive building which survived as a hotel for a number of years after the closure and demolition of the station. It is no longer a hotel and is currently an apartment block with a restaurant, bar and takeaway fish and chip shop at street level. In its heyday, the hotel was described as lavish with high quality facilities. Within the hotel was a station entrance and a covered walkway connecting to the station. Evidence of the walkway remains on the corner of the building. The approach to the station sloped up from Wellington Street to a height of 1 story, and the covered walkway joined the hotel on what we might describe as the first floor. The main entrance to the hotel, however, was at street level on Wellington Street. The building is of considerable size and thankfully is set to stay. Elsewhere on this section of road where Eyre Street becomes Whitehall Road, many changes have been seen, and the industrial buildings, such as Joe Watson's Soapworks, have been replaced with new buildings, which are not always regarded with similar fondness attracted by the older properties in the area. Buildings do come and go, but it is surprising when something as substantial as a main railway station disappears, almost without trace. It makes one wonder what might replace these new buildings in the future.